What's up, all my sports investors? Rothstein here, Fame Rothstein Sports Investing Show. I am your beloved host, Fame Rothstein, a.k.a. Michael Snackson, a.k.a. Bay Old Wolf, a.k.a. Hacksaw Jim Thuggin, all right, a.k.a. Meyer Wolfsheim, all right. Today is Wednesday, January 8th, 2020, and I tell you what, usually I tell you if you have a gambling problem, don't listen to this show. Well, you can listen today because today we're going to do something that I'm going to try and do every Wednesday called Rothstein Rants. All right. Well, I just kind of, talk about the sports topics of the week. I'm not going to hold you very long, 10, 20 minutes, if that, and just kind of just rant on those things, the current sports topics. Just going to do this on Wednesdays for now, see how it works, but if you're not already doing so, why don't you smash that like and subscribe button? All right. Don't be afraid to drop a comment, whether it's this portion of my show or, the sports betting, sports investing, like another gentleman did, from Sundays. Like, you were 1 and 2, blah, blah, blah. I do better in Vegas, blah, 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 blah. I was like, well, did you check the stats from the week before and all that, the day before and the week before, blah, blah, blah. You go, oh, indeed. You just wanted to come in and diss me. But it be like that sometimes. But listen, I'm just going to get into these topics. I feel not necessarily compelled, but I feel that I'm able to coherently because, my past as a sports writer and whatnot. I wrote a few columns. Well, not one, but, came in second and third. A couple of them made it for columns and some smaller papers in the AP. But at any rate, first thing I want to talk about is the black coaching saga. Man, I just was reading some tweets from Howard Bryan at Full Dissident on Twitter. Listen, if you don't follow him on Twitter, you're wasting your time. That dude is got one of the best Twitters out there. All right, and black coaches in the NFL looks like they went another year. No new black coaches were hired. I think that only make 4 minorities. If you include Ron Rivera, because he is obviously Latino. I saw Stephen A. Smith going off on his show, Full Take, about the paucity, the dearth of black coaches in the NFL, talking about how the Rooney Rule is just a formality, and it is. It is a formality. I mean, guys are just abusing it. What it is, the Rooney Rule came out like 2003, that like a NFL team is supposed to engage in meaningful talks with minority coaches, especially African-American, because the league is 70% African-American players, but, it's 25% African or less than that, actually 25% ethnic minority coaches, which isn't, that's disproportionate. Well, it's less than that because it's 4 out of 32. What is that? 1/8? 15%? What is that? 16%? I don't know. I'm not a math whiz. I'm only a math whiz when I'm doing the sports investing. But yes, this is a problem. Black coaches. I mean, some of them talk about going to college to get their chop. Eric Bieniemy, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator, it's been 2 years now people have been expecting him to be hired. He's not. Don't know why. Eric Bieniemy, he's coordinating that Chiefs offense with Patrick Mahomes and whatnot. I mean, you would think you would want a guy like him to be a new coach, but no. Who got hired? The Patriots strength and conditioning and wide receivers coach? The Rams struck lightning in a bottle a couple of years with McVay, but, he's kind of dwindling out. And the Bengals themselves, my hometown team here in the Republic of Cincinnati, hired Zach Taylor just because he basically had dinner. Well, he was the quarterback's coach for the Rams with Sean McVay, and truth be told, not to diss Zach Taylor, I hope he does well here, but I won't be surprised if he doesn't. Why? Because you can just see it in his eyes. I just don't see him being ready. You can just see it in his eyes. I don't see that leader of men in his eyes. You know, he might be a great college coach, but NFL, nah, not yet. Not yet, okay? And yeah, so Stephen A. Smith. But see, the odd thing about Stephen A. Smith doing that is because Stephen A. Smith, for years, about 4 years, he was going at Marvin Lewis. I mean, going at him, talking about he should be fired, because he's, not winning playoff games. And all the while, I'm just sitting here like, dude, don't know what he's talking about. Marvin Lewis is a better coach than people realize. The Bengals run their team a lot different than any other NFL franchise. All right, and for Marvin Lewis to do what he was doing in Cincinnati was phenomenal because, as you see, the year he leaves, they only win 2 games. He had like one horrible season like that with the Bengals, and that was the year Carson Palmer basically set out, said he didn't want to play, and what happened? Ryan Fitzpatrick took over, and Bengals went so low, they got the 4th pick in the draft, got A.J. Green first round, got Andy Dalton second round, and that go Marvin. 5 straight playoff appearances with those 2 guys. For most of them, I think A.J. missed 1 game, and Dalton missed 1 game, but they wasn't the same game. But the odd thing was, in those 5 years, A.J. Green caught 1 touchdown pass in the playoffs, and it came from A.J. McCarron. It came from A.J. McCarron, not Andy Dalton. So, I mean, it was clear. I mean, no disrespect to Andy Dalton. It was clear after year 2.5, year 3, he wasn't the guy that was going to get you much more than what he was getting you. 10-6, 11-5. He wasn't going to do much better than that. You might host a divisional game. The 1 year where the Bengals had a chance to kind of get a bye, like that last year, that 2015 year, where just melted down after that. It was a wrap after that Pittsburgh playoff loss. But yeah, but even before that, with Carson Palmer, Marvin Lewis had a chance. I mean, that first game, they were about to beat the brakes off Pittsburgh, but Carson Palmer and Chris Henry, they both went out on the same play, on a bomb, a 66-yard bomb, but Kimo von Oelhoffen of Pittsburgh runs into Carson Palmer's knee, knocks it out, and I think Chris Henry fell on his knee. Just the way that it just wasn't meant to be. Some say it's a black curse over the city, over some stuff that happened here politically with, police and whatnot, but not going to get into all that. But yeah, and see, I have an interesting relationship with Stephen A. Smith. Speaking of him, I mean, we've never met. Don't get it twisted. I've never met the man. But, I was on Twitter, kind of getting at him a little bit. But as the years have went on, getting at him for some of his takes and whatnot. But as the years have went on, I come to realize he's one of 3 people in sports that I can think of offhand, 3 sports analysts, TV talkers, whatever you want to call them, that have made the transition from journalist to character. There's Howard Cosell, who basically made ESPN necessary from the wild world of sports. Chris Berman, the nicknames, Chuck New Kids on Now Block, Burt B. Home Block 11, Andre Bad Moon Rising. I mean, Chris Berman was crazy with it. And then Stephen A. Smith. I mean, I think Stephen A. Smith might be the best ever at this TV sports thing that he does. I think he's the best ever, me personally. But when he got suspended from ESPN for the Ray Rice comments that he made, funny, well, see, let me stretch this out a little bit. Thing was, he and ESPN had knowingly had a policy that talent, the people on TV, the talent, they're not allowed to critique other talents, whether on TV or radio. We found this out with Tony Kornheiser. He said some things about, what's her name? Hannah Storm. Funny thing was, and, Kornheiser got suspended for a couple days and, whatever. Funny thing was, I didn't listen to Kornheiser that day. I do remember the day he's talking about. He said something about Hannah Storm, what is she, 50? She got on these go-go boots and blah, blah, blah. The funny thing was, I didn't listen to Kornheiser's show that day, but I remember the day because I seen Hannah Storm that day, and I was thinking the same thing, isn't she a little old to be dressed like that? What is she trying to pull off here? These red boots, it was weird. And Corn Iverson got suspended. So everybody knew ESPN had that issue. Or that company policy. So Stephen A. Smith says the stuff about Ray Rice, basically kind of says that, sometimes women start this stuff about these DVs and whatnot. You can get into that whatever you want to. But then Michelle Beadle came in and kind of checked Stephen A. Smith, and she was never suspended for what she said about Stephen A. Smith. And I'm sitting there like, this is obviously some bull. And I used to hit Stephen A. Smith on Twitter because this was around the same time Jemele Hill took a suspension for something else. Not the thing that she just recently got suspended for before she left with Donald Trump, but it was something else she had got suspended for. And I hit them both on Twitter like, why don't y'all just leave ESPN? You guys got a nice high profile. Hit up BET and, tell them we're going to revamp Mad Sports, Black Entertainment Television. You don't have to take that from ESPN. You guys got a nice profile now. You don't got to deal with that. And coincidentally, Jemele Hill's kind of doing that now. I mean, with her podcast or whatnot. And I jokingly hit her on Twitter and told her that she pulled the finesse of the year, started the stuff about Trump and, pretty much they gave her walking papers with a nice, what they call it, a golden parachute, $6 million or so that was reported. Not saying that she listened to me. I don't even know if she saw the tweet. She's got, tons and tons of followers. But I remember, saying that to her a couple times. And I like Jemele Hill. I really do. She's a very brilliant lady, very smart. I'll never forget when ESPN did that N-word special about, using the N-word and black people using the N-word and players using the N-words when right around the time the NFL was going to start said they were going to start giving 15-yard penalties for it on the field, which I don't know. But, and somebody came to her, the round table came to her, Jemele, do you think we should get rid of the N-word? And she was like, hell no. I'm paraphrasing, she was like, hell no, as a journalist, we shouldn't be trying to get rid of no words. I don't want to see him get rid of any words. I felt that, definitely. And I love Jemele Hill, I criticize her some too, but all in all, she's a great journalist. Excellent at what she does. She gives back. She made a gentleman's bet with Kenny Mayne over some game recently on Twitter, and she won, and her prize was, or her payoff was that Kenny Mayne had to donate one fee of the 1 year to the National Association of Black Journalists Conference. Somebody did that, and to send a student there, Kenny Mayne paid it up. So props to Jemele Hill. I felt that too. Like I said, I might have been critical of her, but I do feel her work. All right. And that's pretty much all we're gonna talk about today, I think. Yeah, well, Anthony Davis, man, for the Lakers, they offered him, some good money on the max contract. He turns it down, and 20 minutes later, he goes out and tears up his back. Gets into a collision. But that was kind of eye-opening. Like, wow, they offered you the money, and you said, no, you want to test free agency? Huh? Okay, I guess he don't like living in L.A., I guess. I don't know. But now he's talking about having an MRI on his back. Bruh. And Rich Paul, LeBron's boy, he's the one out there, giving out the information. Hey, listen. On the court, I love LeBron. You can convince me he's the best ever. You can convince me Kobe, Magic, Jordan, are the best ever. But off the court, I'm not a fan of LeBron. I mean, I know he does the thing with the kids, in the school, and that's brilliant. But, with his homies, his circle, like, okay, yeah, I like how you put them on, but you guys are pushing way too far. Trying to buck the system and whatnot, which I understand. But the thing is, you try to buck the system, now you're old. And so your bucking of the system is about to be limited and dwindling. And now other players behind you are starting to try to do that. Now you got Kawhi Leonard, his uncle reportedly, acting as his agent saying, yeah, Kawhi will sign with the Lakers if I get like a percentage of ownership. Like, what? See, and that's what always happens. People try to do that, and then somebody else always takes it too far. Not unlike, kind of sort of unlike the situation with Weinstein and Bill Cosby. I mean, if you're a prude, I apologize to tell you this, but that stuff of, pay for play to get in this movie, get on this TV show, didn't surprise me. I don't think it surprises anybody with half a brain who's been around the block a time or two. But they eventually somebody took it too far and crossed the wrong one, and that's what's about to happen with these players. You're gonna push it too far, and cross the wrong one, and all hell's gonna break loose, and the players are gonna be pretty much back to square one because everybody's trying to push the envelope and thinking about themselves, not thinking about the guys behind them. But it's neither here nor there, I guess. But hey, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. I hope you like this edition. This is the first edition of the Rothstein Rants. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to do this every Wednesday. As you know, I publish picks on YouTube every weekend. And occasionally, I might pop in on one. But Wednesday will be just for Rothstein Rants. All right? And the picks are, they're usually Thursday through Monday on my podcast that you can find on Anchor, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere you can find a free podcast, you can find it. Fame Rothstein Sports Investing Show, same as this, all right? So hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notification button, all right? And I'll be back on YouTube Saturday, but I'll be back here on the podcast tomorrow night. We got action, all right? And we'll be here to talk to you. But until then, everybody stay safe, stay blessed, and peace.